Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Colouring with Liv. So today I'll be doing some Christmas colouring in Johanna Basford's Christmas book. And I have the French version called Noël féérique. So I'm colouring a deer and I thought I would use my gesso that I just purchased. So the gesso I have is from Sennelier and it was like just a little amount, and I've never used it before, so I thought this was the perfect opportunity to do that. And the idea I first had was to do everything in metallic acrylic, but then I saw something from Neko Simi and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to do the middle bit of the circle with watercolour. But as I was laying down the watercolour, I was just a bit like, it's not really drying, it's not sinking in. Even when I put the liquid mask, it took forever to dry. But the good thing about using gesso with the liquid mask is that I didn't have any tearing at all. So that was really good. And as I was laying it down, what I saw from Neko Simi's version from a different page in the Christmas colouring book was that she did circles, and I don't know, I just decided to do spots, and I kind of wish that I didn't do spots because it almost ended up being a more like underwater kind of feeling, especially when I started colouring some of the vines on the bottom green. But the background with the acrylic metallic, it was just like a cheap set that I found off Amazon, turned out really well. So after one layer I could kind of see some of the brush strokes still, so I did a second layer and then I started painting a snowflake, but you couldn't really see the snowflake, so I painted over it quickly and went in with my Posca and created little snowflakes, and that looked more like Christmas paper at that particular point. So that was the idea I had for the background, was that it was supposed to look like Christmas paper. So I was really happy at how my snowflakes turned out. And then I ended up doing some kind of like off the page, because when I was playing around with stickers in my planner before, that's the kind of good idea that you're supposed to have some things that are a little bit off the page, so it feels like more of the pattern is behind it rather than just some random snowflakes. And what I loved about using the gesso was that I didn't actually tear my page for the first time. So that was really great. But the only thing about using gesso on this page that I noticed was that the watercolour was pooling towards the edges, and I think that's probably why I ended up doing spots to try and get some of that colour to kind of stick to the middle so it wouldn't pool on the edges. So for the border, I found this image, this colouring done by Denise Lemons, and I thought, oh, that's so cute. It's like a candy cane border, and I thought that was quite original. So I decided to do my own candy cane border. And I guess that's what helped me decide on the colours that I wanted to use. So I swatched out some of the metallic colours I had. First I was going to go with like a bright green and red, but then I was leaning more towards the blue. So the blue in the background is a cobalt blue. And on this little section, I did a little bit of a boo-boo, because when I was coming around to the end of the circle, I noticed that I still needed like red, white. So I was trying to correct that. but as I was erasing the pencil, basically you can't really erase on gesso because it just comes out as a smudgy mess. So that's why I ended up putting some white Posca to cover those pencil smudges. And unfortunately, it does look a little bit darker in that section as well. And for this bit, I just decided to go in with my markers. They're just cheap markers that I found from like something similar to a dollar store. In France, it's called Giphy. And I noticed that the colours came out quite light. So they were a lot lighter than what you would swatch out on a piece of paper. So that was, I guess, a little bit difficult because you don't really know exactly what the colour is going to be like until you use it. But so far, so good. What I liked about the little set was that I have like a green set, and you have like multiple different greens. So they kind of go together with each other. So I think if I were to buy like a more expensive set of markers, then I would definitely like have a range of greens. And at this point, I thought everything looked pretty good so far, but I was stuck on what colour the vines should be. So I asked on Facebook and on my Instagram stories if I should do it red, blue, like a light sweetie green, or a darker nature green. So if I were to do the nature green, I probably would have used my fine liners from Stabilo. But some people said don't touch it, and other people voted on the bright sweetie green. And because I thought with the candy cane, maybe I can make it look like sweets. But it wasn't coming out how I expected it to come out. So I tried to fix it by making it darker, thinking that would help. And yeah, it didn't. I went over it with a little bit of pencil, and then again with like a kind of medium green, and then I still wasn't happy with that, so I ended up going over that with a darker green, and it just looked like seaweed at the bottom of the ocean, and that was not what I had wanted to look like. I think because there were so many dots in the background, you couldn't really see those vines. So I felt like maybe it needed to be more of a solid colour. And I did try and, just see what would happen if I used my other blues, like an icy blue and a darker blue that I had in my blue set of markers. But again, it just kind of merged into the background. So I just ended up covering it all with some gold Posca. So it probably took longer to finish than if I had a better plan of what to do with this. I think because of the dots in the background, I thought the dots would make it better in that circle, instead of using just a flat colour of metallic acrylic, which I was going to do to begin with, but it didn't work out quite to how I expected. And then I wanted to test out my coloured pencils on the gesso to see what everyone is moaning about. And yes, it does eat up your pencil, and what no one really kind of tells people is that it just looks like a cheap set of coloured pencil on top of the gesso. It doesn't have that smooth, nice blend. So to fix the gold Posca bit, to make it feel like it would pop out the page a little bit more so you can see those solid bits of colour, I was like, yes, I can actually use my Micron permanent ink pens. So I love these pens because they don't smudge and you can just, yeah. So I tried to go over all those lines to kind of add definition, and I think that helped a lot because the background was just too busy, and I probably should have made that background a little bit smoother, like maybe a gradient or a flat colour, but not dots. And then when I was working on one bit with my Micron pen, I actually had a wet sleeve, and I didn't even think about it, but my wrist with my wet sleeve just went on the painting, and it kind of smudged out that section there, which I tried to fix. So yeah, I just ended up going over that little bit with some markers. I couldn't even be asked to, find my watercolor set and fix that properly. Anyways, that's the end of this video. So I hope the next Christmas colouring page won't be this much of a disaster, but what I'm happy with are those snowflakes. So give this a like, thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. See ya. Bye.